Hey guys, welcome back to Doremicom channel. We're here with Tim Korkleski of Cool Mini or Not, and we're about to go through a demo type game, should we say, with
yeah, a little bit more than a demo.
Little larger than a demo game of Dark Age. Now, I have not played Dark Age at all. This is my first time through, and Tim's like, if we're gonna do this, let's do it live, and let's do it on this massive board and whatnot. So here we are. My forces are up here. I'm going to try to bring them down, and we'll zoom in on images and stuff as we're talking to make sure you guys get a much closer look at the cards that are in play. So, for instance, all the miniatures have particular cards, and we're going to step through that as we go through. And we'll also kind of do up close and personal images of the models. But this is just kind of like a high-level overview of the game. So I'm going to kind of hand it over to Tim at this point. Tim?
Sure. So the big thing with Dark Age is it's very much a story-driven skirmish game. Basically, it's on a planet that is far, far off in the future that has gone through a collapse and for the past 500 years has kind of had to fight its way back to some semblance of civilization. The best way for me to explain it as quick as possible is it's Mad Max meets Conan the Barbarian, for lack of better terms. So you've got everything from religious zealots to outcasts living out in the wastes that just want to be left alone, to cannibalistic cults of the scarred, and of course the force I'm playing today, which are basically at one point a genetic bioweapon that was left to do its own thing in the swamp called the Brood.
Okay, so let's take a second to talk about this. The two factions that we have playing, the faction I'm playing is called...
that is the Foresaken. So essentially they are the ones that are they call themselves a savior of New Ashkelon, which is a city they live in, and basically the rest of Samaria. And they believe that their way is right through religion and just total overall governance.
Gotcha. And so we're effectively playing probably the people who were left behind when the corporations took off from this planet that's decaying, and you're playing
I am playing the Brood.
Now, now, is this definitely one of those things where the corporations kind of created these things, or?
Yes. So a little bit of backstory on the Brood and Samaria as a whole. Samaria is actually a planet that was on the fringes of the galaxy. So there was these United Worlds nations, and this planet was way, way out there. So it wasn't really regulated. They couldn't really do anything about it. So a lot of these mega corporations would come to the planet and start doing stuff that is not normal or legal on other planets, and they were making money at it. So the Brood, which is the army I'm going to be playing today, when it was initially created, was essentially weaponized animals and bioforms that they made. So they were designed from the beginning to be cyclically linked, regenerate, extremely tough, extremely durable, able to adapt to their surroundings at a moment's notice, just even by adapting in ways like the Brood hounds coming from the swamps. If they were to go into the desert, they'd grow fins on their back just so that way they could help absorb some of the heat from the sun. And so they're kind of dangerous. Now, what ended up happening is when the planet collapsed, essentially all the important people, or as we like to call it, all the rich people that made all the decisions, got on spaceships and bugged out. What they left behind were essentially wrench turners and mechanics and middle management.
Wrench turners, fantastic.
So at that point, there was all this great technology on Samaria that just literally went into ruin because nobody knew how to operate it. They could turn some nuts and bolts here and there and maybe flip some levers, but when everything started to collapse, power grids went down, the world literally did go into a dark age.
And unfortunately, with the power going down, the creatures
escaped. The Brood got out.
Yeah.
They went into the swamp. They started making more and more and more. And keep in mind, at this point in the game, this is not, it just recently collapsed. The world has been collapsed for about 100 years or more.
Wow.
So they actually don't know how long at this point.
Okay,
so a lot of this technology is shut down. They're considered artifacts by a lot of people, and they have no idea how most of it works.
All right. So, like in the models, the scale 28, or is it
32 millimeter?
32 millimeter. We're playing on still a 4x4 table, though.
Yes.
Right? So tell me a little bit about how we deploy and how we play.
Sure. So the way that deployment works in this game, it uses 20-sided dice. And in this game, it's always the lowest rolls that win. So if you have Dungeons & Dragons dice that have just been failing for you for a long time, those are the dice you want to use in Dark Age.
Nice.
So in this game, 1s are always considered critical successes. So no matter what it is that you're rolling, a 1 will always save you, or it will always make it an automatic hit on a model. 20s, on the other hand, have bad things happen. So if you go to make an armor save and fail, you take additional wounds because basically falling into a blade is never a good idea, but you decided it was. And then on top of that, same thing with attacking. If you roll a 20, not only do you miss, you actually lose one of your extra action points. So it's really, really bad.
And we're playing, you said 300 points? Is that how
Yes, so this is 300 points. This is roughly battle box size. So you actually have over there the Foresaken starter box. And I have a slightly modified version of the Brood starter box. And the only reason I modified it a little bit is so that way it makes the rules mechanics a little bit simpler for everybody to understand for the video.
That works.
And let's see here. So on top of that, I guess the best thing to do is just kind of get started as to how the mechanics of the game work.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and deploy. So you got about roughly 12 inches on the board anywhere along this side that you're going to do. And essentially what we're going to run is a modified version of slaughtering fields. The first person to kill the other person's team wins. Now keep in mind, we are leaving out of this game secondary objectives. Normally there'll be objective markers on the board that allow you to score your victories in other ways. Because with Dark Age, it's not a matter of how many models you kill, even though it is a very savage game. It's about how many victory points you have at the end of the game. So you could effectively be tabled and still win.
Wow, okay.
So on top of that,
So how do you decide who deploys first?
so the way that deployment works is you're going to go ahead and roll a d20. Whoever rolls the lowest doesn't just determine what side deploys first, they tell them what models to deploy first. So I rolled a 3, you rolled a 2.
Yeah.
So you could actually not only just say, hey Tim, I want you to deploy first, you get to tell me, Tim, I want you to deploy your Broodhounds first.
Okay.
Or you could deploy just like any other game out there that you want to just go ahead and deploy first.
Since I'm new to this, I'm going to say, Tim, you deploy first, and I don't even know what that freaky looking thing at the end is, but you have to deploy.
That's the fastest model I have. It's called the Gazelle.
Okay, so you have to deploy the Gazelle first.
Okay, so I've got 12 inches in on the board, and just because I like showing exactly how dangerous the Brood are, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to kind of scoot her up, just modified right there, and that's where she's going to.
So I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, these guys with the double-ended maces. I think
Yep, those are your Banes.
So I'm going to deploy those first, and I'm going to put them...
And we'll start with the coils. All right.
That's a little far. Oh, my bad. I'm going to get the... Stick with the guys with the maces. Now, as I'm deploying this, since it's more than one model, do I have to worry about unit coherency or anything
There is
like
no
that?
such thing as unit coherency in Dark Age. So even though you're running similar models,
So I can put this guy way over here, and it
absolutely
doesn't matter.
Yep.
All right, in fact, I'll do that.
Okay. So then I'm going to go ahead and deploy my Ratchets, which are basically my answer to your Banes. Only about 9 feet tall and not squishy human. So my Ratchets, I'm actually just going to kind of move them right about roughly in here. And again, I'm just keeping them close together because I like having things move together in pairs. It's always fun that way.
So here's another question: is this game very much in the melee of it? Are there like I kind of get the sense that this particular player has a gun, but is it effective at all? Do I really need to be like, no, you really want this person in close combat?
So you actually have 3 different versions of guns in your force, or 3 models, I should say, with guns in your force. So she has a pistol, and your coils over there that you see, you notice the one holding that weird thing on its wrist that looks like a saw blade.
Yes.
They actually have a spring-bloated death disc launcher. So essentially, they have a bag full of razor sharpened saw blades on their hip that they load into this thing and fire it across the board. It is probably one of the nastiest weapons that the generic Foresaken have, outside of characters.
All right. So I'm kind of glad I didn't deploy this model or the Bane as far as I wanted, because I really want to get that weapon into use. So we'll split them up though a little bit, provide some fire support on both sides of the board.
Okay, so I'm actually going to infiltrate my Broodhounds. So at this point,
What does that mean?
So infiltrate, the way that's going to work is, I'll just go ahead and read it off the card for you. This model is deployed only after all other non-infiltrating models have deployed. This model may be deployed anywhere on the battlefield, at least 12 inches from any enemy deployment zone.
Okay, now, so I have this one model left. Is there a concept in this game of like a leader model?
Yes, sort of, kind of. So when you set up your games, you don't actually have to run leaders. However, she has an ability called Command. So what that means is models normally activate as individuals. However, if they're within 4 inches of the same kind of model, or if Command is used, she can actually tell models that are within 8 inches of her to activate at the same time she does. So it kind of helps you set up alpha strikes.
All right. Well, then I'm going to be crazy and maybe actually have her activate 3 different types of units all at the same time.
Okay. So you won't be able to quite do that much. So the way that Command is going to end up working is you pick one other kind of model.
Okay,
and then
so
you
it's
can
only
activate.
for one other type. So then I'm going to go ahead and put her then down here.
Excellent. There you go. Perfect. So if you're all set up, I'm going to go ahead and check because you got a 12-inch deployment. So I'm going to go from about middle of the board here is about roughly where I can go. So I'm actually going to start my Broodhounds. I'm going to start them right here up on this bridge.
All right.
Don't worry, I don't need stairs.
They can jump the chasm, huh?
They can jump the gap.
Nice. All right. So we're done with deployment.
Yes.
Do we re-roll at this point to see who goes first? How does that work?
So now we end up rolling for initiative, and again, lowest die roll wins.
Okay.
So I rolled an 18. I'm off to a great start. You rolled
17.
a 17. We're just getting the bad ones out of the way.
Good.
So you win initiative. So the way initiative works is, again, you can either choose to go first, or you can tell me which specific model to activate first.
I'm going to tell you to activate the Broodhounds first.
Okay, so you're going to be that guy.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and activate my Broodhounds. Now, they have special abilities on the card, such as in the Broodhound, they have an ability called Vault. So what Vault does is once per activation, this model may spend 1 action point to immediately move their move value, ignoring terrain as well as intervening models. If this move results in a charge, that model gains an additional +1 power and +1 assault. So essentially, they're jumping a great distance and landing on top of you.
So let's take a second to consider these cards. Now I'm going to be showing the cards kind of up close and personal when we're going through them. But so you just read something that was off the back, so right?
Yes.
So just the layout of these cards. What are we looking at here?
So the way that it's going to end up working is when you look at the left-hand side of the card, you'll notice the number in the gear. That is how many action points that you have, and you can use those in any combination of moving, attacking, interacting with objects, whatever combination you want to use. So that could either be move, 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 attack, move, 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 attack, move, whatever you want to do.
But attacking only once.
You can attack as many times as you have action points.
So I could be in base to base, and when 3 actions
go crazy,
whale,
just go crazy.
Okay.
So and then the number underneath that is the defense. So the way that defense works is that's essentially how hard it is to hit you. So in this game, there is a slight bit of math, but what it comes down to is you take the assault of whatever attack group you're attacking with. So what card do you have in your hand there?
I have the coil.
Okay, the coil. So what is the weapon they have in that first slot there?
It is the Morning Club.
Okay, so the Morning Club. Now you notice the little number in the bracket to the left of it.
The AS value?
To the Morning Club itself.
It's 1.
1. So that means you get 1 attack per action point.
Okay.
So the way that's going to work is you have an AS of what?
5.
Say you have an assault of 5. I have a defense of 4. 5 plus 4 is
9.
You need to roll 9 or under to hit me.
So you actually want low. If you're being attacked, you want your defense to be super low, so you're not helping them hit you.
Correct.
Effectively.
So on a 9 or under, you will hit me.
All right.
So the number underneath that you see is that set of armor. That is your armor. So the way that armor is calculated is, again, what is the power, the PW of your Morning Stick?
3.
3. So I have an armor of 12. So that means 12 minus 3 is
9.
9.
So I'm still looking for 9s or less.
I'm looking for 9s or less.
Oh.
You're looking to hit me. I'm looking to defend against it.
Gotcha.
So if I roll a dice and it ends up 9 or less, I shrug off the wound. I keep going about doing my Broodhound things. Now, however, if I fail that armor save, I take a wound. So the next number down that you see is the footprint. That is how many inches you move per action point.
Gotcha.
Okay? So in this case, I can actually leap this gap 4 inches as one of my movement actions.
What's the normal range? I'm noticing that all mine have 3. Is that like standard?
That's kind of typical human.
Okay.
So the reason I say typical human is, well, we're not typical humans. The Brood as a whole don't really have a lot for ranged weapons, so it is really my job to get up in your face as much as possible.
Right.
So the number underneath that you see in the lightning bolt, it's not going to come into play too much this game. is your psychology. So essentially, the way that ends up working for you is that there's effects in the game that cause panic or fear. You'll see some weird stuff on the battlefield that might affect the way that you play. There's even certain things such as psychogenics, to where people are literally taking control of your model through psychic effects. So they normally use this as your resistance number against it.
Okay.
So the number you see in the heart is how many wounds you have. So in this game, it is very fast, very lethal. Most of the stuff on your side has 1 wound, which means if I damage it at all, dead model.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So very, very easy to figure out as far as that goes. So past that, the only other things that are needed to really be noted on the card is you'll notice that underneath certain attack groups, there are special things that are listed under the weapon.
Right.
Okay, so it might be like knock prone or anything along those lines. So the way that's going to end up working is past that, all the abilities that you have on your cards, if it's in the special ability section or the attack groups, are listed right on the back of the cards. There is never a need to flip open a rule book during play.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do this.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and activate. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this 4 inches, because I'm not going to quite be able to jump that gap, and now falling into this lava is not a good idea. So I'm just going to jump over this way. So one other thing to note on the card, I did say that it is normally a single model activation. However, you'll notice in the bottom of the card this little chain link and a name and a number.
Yes.
That is for squad linking purposes. So squad linking is essentially allowing you to activate a certain amount of models at the same time. So the way that'll work is, so for example, on your Bane, go ahead and read me what it says for that chain link on the bottom by the Bane.
It says Bane and with a 6 in the parentheses.
Okay, so the way that works is that means you could actually squad link up to 6 Banes. So you could activate 6
even
Banes
if they're
all at
deployed
once.
way away from one another.
To a point. So as long as a model is within 4 inches of another model of a keyword of squad link.
So I should have probably kept my Banes all together, or the unit types similar.
Or not. It's entirely up to you, because keep in mind that Bane might come over here and run points on this model. So he's doing his own thing while these Banes are moving up at me.
So this actually forces me to have what would effectively be potentially more activations than you.
Correct.
Okay. All right, let's do this.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just leap down over here.
So how many actions do your brood get?
I get 3.
Is that a particularly normal number?
3 is the typical number for most models in the game. You start getting into more heroic models that have 4 activations.
Okay.
Normally, the only way you'll ever get 5 activations is if someone's hitting you with some sort of special ability, and at that point, that model better be going crazy.
Yeah.
So you got that coil up there. It's got that nasty, nasty disc gun. So I need to get close to you, but I need to make sure I stay in cover. So I've got another 2 action points left for movement, so I'm going to run these guys forward just to kind of get in here behind cover a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so that is my Broodhounds. It is now your turn to activate.
All right. I am now. Can I fire over models?
You can, as long as they are not larger than you.
Not larger than me. Okay, well, you know what? I want to see this disc thing in action, so I'm going to move the coil first anyways.
Okay.
So the coil, and since they're far apart, this is just a single action that I'm activating here, right?
You're activating Coil Steve over there.
And, all right, so coil, I have a movement of 3, and I have 3 activations. Now, how do I determine how far away I can fire?
So the number that you see next to the power in RN
is 12.
Is the range.
So
it has
12
a range
inches.
of 12.
Wow.
So keep in mind, though, in Dark Age, because of the fact that we're talking about weapons that are not highly advanced, for every 4 full inches that are measured between you and your opponent, it is -1 to your target number to hit me. So effectively drop your assault by 1.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's go and at least move 3 inches.
Okay.
And
so
I
get him on the step.
Yeah.
These steps are made. You should be able to kind of tuck that model in there a little bit, and he'll stay. There you go.
Good. So now I have a choice. I can either fire twice or I can move another 3 inches.
But you only have a rate of fire of 1 on the death disc.
So no matter what, I can't fire it more than once per activation.
Correct.
Okay, so let's go and move 3 more inches. Now, unfortunately, I'm kind of doing your job for you by getting all up in your face, but
hey, that helps.
That's what he's for. He's literally just going to run interference as soon as we get up there.
All right.
So now I'm going to go ahead and clearly I'm within 12 inches, but I'll go ahead and measure it out just to kind of show our listening audience. This is what I mean. Okay.
Yeah. So you were there. So
So-
you're shooting the Broodhound down here.
Yeah, I'm shooting the first one.
Okay. So you have you're
Now,
roughly
is it
about
from front of base to front of base?
front of base to front of base. Everything's always measured from the closest angles.
So just under 6 inches.
Okay, so you're just under 6 inches, so you're going to be automatically at -1 to your target number to hit me.
Okay.
So keep in mind, though, I'm also in cover because these stairs are going to provide me a light cover, which is another -2.
If I'm doing all the math here, what I'm seeing is I have an assault of 6. You have a defense of 4.
Correct.
Okay, so 6 plus 4 is 10, but we got the -1 on the range, and you have the -2 for cover, right?
Correct.
So I'm looking at 7s or less.
You're looking at 7s or less to hit me.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's do this roll.
3. So
3.
you actually hit me. Wow,
Nice.
this is not good for me.
All right.
Because I have an armor of 12.
Okay, so now let's figure out. We're doing damage. I take the power, which is 6, but it's X2, so
It's ×2, which means that multipliers basically mean that I have to roll that many dice, and I need to save on all of those in order for the wound to not go through.
okay. And yours is a 1 wound model as well, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we're taking the 6, and let me see if I get this right. You have an armor of
12.
12, so it's literally 12 minus 6. You have to get a 6 or less twice.
Correct. Otherwise, I go down.
Nice.
Welcome to firing razor sharpened buzz blades at me. So I got a 6 and a 13, so I go down. However, normally I'd remove the model from the game, but the Brood being the Brood, and if you remember what I said in the beginning, regenerating bioweapons, he's just there on the ground.
Okay,
So-
so for you Infinity players out there, I've just shot at a Shazvasti who's gone into seed mode. I haven't actually killed him yet.
When in doubt, double tap.
Nice. All right, so I gotta somehow get down there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Is it an auto regen at the start of the next turn, or
The
do
way
you have
it
to
works
roll
is
for it?
so the way that it works is when I go to activate my Broodhounds again, he stands up.
Wow. Okay, let's see what we can do here. I guess that's the end of my activation, though, right?
Yes,
I did
you-
move twice and then I fired.
You
so
fired.